Okay, so now we're going to work on this specific little 8-bar build section of the track and add in a snare build to make it a bit more intense and feel like an actual build-up. And there's a couple ways to do so. There should be an instrument in Ableton Live called DS Snare, and I'm a great fan of these DS sounds because they sound very analog and old school. And one way of doing so would be to create a new MIDI track and add that DS Snare here. You can mess around with the parameters here and come up with really cool little interesting snare sounds. But for the sake of demonstration, we're going to be using this resampled snare sound, which is in the core samples, which is a resampled version of that DS snare sound. And we're going to add that to our build section over here. And we're going to go back into 16th bars and shorten out the snare like this. And what we're going to do is go into 16th mode, so 16th fixed grid, dial in on that snare sound and shorten it to a 16th note. So you can see this would be a 16th note. This is how long our snare sound is. We're going to take that snare, hit Control or Command D, duplicate that. So we have that a total of 4 times and duplicate that until the very end. And we want to leave 1 bar out. So we're going to reselect 1 bar here and remove the snare from this section over here. So we have like a bit of a pre-drop here. And that means the snare would be playing for a total of, how many bars is this? 7 bars. This would be 8 bars minus 1 bar, 7 bars. And if we would give this a quick playthrough, it sounds like this. So that's the snare sound. We'll do some automation later on, but it's good that we have this sound in place right now. And I did mention that we wanted to make the second part of the drop a bit more interesting by adding some new high frequencies. And the best way to do so specifically for the genre of melodic techno is by adding in ride sounds. So within this course samples folder, we can search for ride. And there's this melodic techno ride loop that we can add right here. So after 16 bars of the drop hitting, drop 2 coming in, there's going to be a ride sample introduced that plays until the outro section of the track. Now let's reduce the volume here and give that a short playthrough. So 2 bars before the ride is being played, I'm going to play the track here. Cool. After that, we're going to double click the sound here, unwarp the sound, rewarp it so we can change the BPM. And since this sound was originally recorded in a session that was set to 125 BPM, we're going to change that to 125 so it matches our tempo. If I were to play both sounds with the kick, you can hear what I'm trying to tell you. Slightly off grid. This one, on the other hand, is on grid. So this is something that happens to samples sometimes, depending on how they are rendered, but there's an easy way to fix that just by unwarping the sound, rewarping it, and setting it to the original BPM, which is 125. So we're going to take both of these, duplicate them so they are on grid. Let's play that again. Already adds a bit of high fidelity to the second part of the drop, which is really cool.